Namaste and welcome, beloved mighty companions, to this holy circle of light, the celebration of the light that we are, and the power that we have as infinite light beings to focus on the light first, because we are light. Light's all there is, infinite love. And each light circle, we look as the light at the denials of divinity, the denials that we are only light, that there's anything other than light. And so we learn to ask Jesus, knowing that in the light of divine nature, there is only peace, there is only joy, and anything other than perfect peace, infinite peace, is desired to deny our identity, our true identity. So we've been looking every day with Jesus at the denials that are actually given in A Course in Miracles, the beliefs, which he translates into the desire for the experience. And when we look quickly at our desire, it burns in the light of truth so easily, so simply. We just look. If he tells us, yes, the desire is there, we just admit it. And then it clears consciousness just by the admission. Yes, Jesus, I don't want perfect peace. I have that desire. So what came in today is chapter 12 of A New Covenant. And that is the desire for a story. To be the story of a person in the world. And I was really reminded of that yesterday because we were watching The Giver. It's all these movies that we watch with spirit, with Jesus's interpretation, are very powerful. It's seeing the patterns within consciousness where we indulge in the idea of a personal identity. And I could see even that movie was such a good reminder how we desire not only the desire to wake up, to sleep, but also the desire to have a slow wake up period. And so we're looking at the light at this. And so I'm going to read what Jesus has to say about it in the New Covenant. And then we just look as the light of divine being to listen in our hearts. Is this true, what he's telling us? Not because someone's saying it, because we have the power as divine being to recognize within ourselves that everything he says in A Course in Miracles, that's what he's saying in A New Covenant. You have the power by direct experience to know, not just read the Course, to see the Course is your call to yourself to see that you're a divine being. It seems like Jesus. It's the light within us calling us home. We're calling ourselves out of the world. Even though it sounds like something outside ourselves is calling. That's why we keep looking as the light to see we're calling ourselves out of the world. Because we see it doesn't work. We do not feel happiness in this world as a person, as an identity separate from infinite love. So chapter 12, Jesus says, consciousness loves a story. Everything's a story. In consciousness, it's not perfect peace. And so we look as the light of divine being, infinite that we are. Does the light of infinite being, the light, our true nature, know what a story is in our direct experience? We can ask, does the light of infinite being know a story? Does it know what a story is? Consciousness is a story with multi-dimensional visuals, feelings, sounds, tastes, and smells. Sensory experience. The story is a desire for a sensory experience. False perception. The perception that there's other outside. And we've been really looking deeply at Jesus. In the light of divine being, is sensory experience true? Does infinite light know sensory experience to be true? Infinite love doesn't know what sensory experience is. We don't know what the sensory experience is either. But through miscreation, the desire to experience in the world, we've miscreated a dream of sensory experience. In the light of divine being, is this a dream of sensory experience? To deny infinite light? And hear the answer of the light. We can hear this because we are the light. This focus on the light within, infinite, unchanging. The only thing that can be shared. The addiction to the story of falling asleep, the story of relative experience, meaning the story of one object, a me, versus a you, versus a world that's going to get me, versus an adversarial relationship with ourselves. Does the light of divine being in our direct experience as we look in the trust that Jesus will show us this because we are light? Does the infinite light of being that we are, does it know an adversarial relationship? Does light, pure light that's shared by all, the light that's here, does it know an adversarial relationship? So the only way, if we look in our hearts and we continue looking with Jesus and we drop all ideas, it will be revealed to us exactly what Jesus said. There's no one outside of ourselves. There's just a desire to have an experience and play within consciousness as though there is something outside of ourselves. The story of relative experience, the story of an other, the story of trying to understand what awakening is, the story of trying to understand who we are. Does the light of infinite nature, our divine being, does divine being in our experience try to understand what it is? Infinite light. Infinite light doesn't know what a story is. And we know this because we are infinite light, unless we deny it with a but. Look at the but. We love the buts. Buts is consciousness. I am light, but. That's all of consciousness. That's the but Jesus. I would follow the Holy Spirit, but that's all of consciousness. That's all saying no to infinite light right there. The story of trying to understand what awakening is and the story of waking up from the dream. Wanting a story that it takes time to see divine light when we're already divine light. The humor, that's the happy laughter. In the light of divine being that's here, does it take time to see divine being? In our direct experience, this light. And hear the answer within. We can hear these answers when we listen very carefully. All desired experience. Everything that arises in consciousness is a desired experience. The desire to be mad, the desire to be happy, the desire to want to kill your brother, the desire to want to be killed, desire to get sick, the desire to be bad, the desire to have a headache, the desire to feel sick, all desired experience. That's pretty deep. Yet, infinite power Infinite power is available when that's recognized within ourselves. When we accept, it's like, we'll just ask Jesus. Jesus? He always tells us the truth, too. We can hear Jesus. Like he says, don't try to block me. You can still hear me. You can try to, I have an earache or I'm ringing in my ears, and Jesus is saying, don't try to block me. I know you can. I know you can hear me. He's so adorable. He loves us so much. That's our own voice. It's not something outside of us. It's the voice for truth within. Yet we need that comfort as though we're talking to something outside of ourselves. Because it would be, we're not willing, most of us, we're not willing to accept that is us. So it seems to be Jesus. The desire for a story, to deny that we're God. But see how everything's a story. You'll watch the news, stories. Usually they're unhappy stories, or they're sad stories. They're all stories. Here's a story that's happening. And as soon as the clues are always, it's happening to them, it's happening to me, we just start noticing this. It's a good story, it's a bad story. Yet as we look at infinite light, can we find a story in there? Where is it? Infinite being. Does an infinite being know a story? Does it go looking for a story? It's not necessarily bad to have a story. The challenge with a story is when we identify that that is happening to us. That's why we look through forgiveness. Forgiveness is the collapse of the story, to show that nothing actually is happening or ever happened to, because we're divine beings. Is anything actually happening to divine being, the light that we share in our direct experience? The story of seeing and exposing another belief or desire that denies truth. Oh, that's a deep one. Because as we look at the light, does the light need to look at any beliefs whatsoever? Does the light even know what a belief is? Infinite light. Infinite light. Can infinite light know? This is honesty of God. Honesty as God is seeing that there are no beliefs whatsoever, actually. Yet, in the play of consciousness, we can see that we're infinite light. That's immediate. We just like the but word. It's like, Jesus, I can see there's nothing here. There's no one here. It's light. I get it. I get it. I really, who's the one getting it first? But it's a starting point, right? Because we notice, there's something here. And Jesus is calling us to rest as this light. Drop every thought, like Muji, drop every thought, every feeling, every emotion, see what's left. It's like, wait, there's nothing in here. You drop everything, there's nothing. It can't be nothing. Can nothing be here? Can actually nothing be here? What if nothing is here? We're so used to a something that to look and realize there's nothing. We're such in a habit. A story is a something, wanting to be a thing, a body in which other things interact with. Objective experience of other. So Jesus is helping us to break these really bad habits. The habits of something happening to me. As soon as there's an object with something happening to it, it's going to be suffering. It's immediate shutdown of infinite, unending happiness. Happiness without beginning or end. A story is a desire for happiness to be an experience that happens through the senses. I touch this. Oh, that's so soft. This chair right here is so soft, and I feel good because It has a because with it. In the light of infinite being, does infinite being have a happiness because of something? Keep asking this question, the light will answer it. It's not because we touch the chair that we're happy. Happiness is us. Happiness is what we are. Happiness is what's here. And then the dream, da 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 da. Jesus, where's happiness? If you're dreaming, you have a desire to dream of not happiness. So we'll just keep looking at the desires. All desired experience, the story of seeing and exposing another belief or desire that denies truth. This part of the story is helpful and a powerful use of time. It's in the dream. It's a powerful use of time to see what we're denying. The story of understanding metaphysics of awakening. This is delay. That's why Jesus is saying, put down the course, put down the course, put down the course. And look with me at all the desires, the beliefs in the course and the desires. Just focus totally on those. Focus on two things. One, the light of divine being, to see that we are the light. Two, ask me to help you. Jesus, I'm mad right now. Thus, I desire to be mad. Without a because. See, the mind moves out so quickly and goes, I'm mad because Joe Blow over there, I want to go kill him, or however it rises. That moves, that's an immediate movement into the story that Joe Blow is actually doing something. So that's the projection. So he's calling, he's going, come all the way back and say, okay, I desire this feeling. That's the miscreation. I desire the feeling of being mad. Okay, I desire this pain. Now, Jesus, will you show me underneath the desire, the conditions? Show me the things underneath this that is generating this, so I can look at it directly with you. And then it's really quick. Boom, boom, boom. We see how powerful our mind is to make that miscreation before it can go out. And, you know, first thing you know, it polymerizes into some kind of story about someone and escalates. And if we actually look at anger, just be with that desire, like that itch. Oh, I want to be angry, but be so present with it. Just kind of observe it. We're going to learn from anger. Like, let's just really learn what that is. And just start to notice how much down there, and just keep going down with it. And you can feel, oh, I want it. I go to Jesus. It was like, oh, you know, every experience, you just drill it down, just watch it with Jesus, you know, just get curious, like no judgment, no, just curiosity. Like, let me just look at this with Jesus. Show me, you know, that show me attitude. Like we never know what it is. We don't know what anger or anything is. We're just, okay, this is interesting. There's a feeling rising up here. Let me follow it down. And I could always find the itch for it. I could you know, you can always just keep going down and go, oh, Jesus, oh, I want this. Oh, I want to be mad. Or even pain. Just follow it down. It's like, oh, he's right. Oh, that's a desire. I want that. You know, and just go all the way down with it to the, okay, just let that energy of wanting and just be present with it. But usually what we do is distract from it through projection. We consciousness, the way it plays to avoid it, it'll try to, you know, toss it out like a hot potato. We want to go beat somebody up or whatever, rather than, oh, this is an opportunity. Look directly at how I'm denying divinity right here. Boom. You know, it just turns the whole thing around. It just collapses the delusion of that habit of going out and avoiding to take a deep look. That to see that we're the ones that are powering it. If it arises in consciousness, we're powering that. We're putting an energetic and then pretending like we're not. But Jesus, our divine nature, is here to help us see that. And that there's no guilt in it. This is guilt-free zone here in the light circles. There's no guilt. We just look, and when Jesus tells me, yes, oh, you do believe that? We just laugh because we know he's right. The story of understanding metaphysics of awakening, this is delay. The story of mystical experience, this is delay. Okay, we talked about a lot of this. It's helpful to see this because not that we don't want union with God, but union with God is simple. It's here. We are God. Anything that moves is not God. God is still. God is before movement. So there are a lot of stories. Oh my gosh, I mean, it's not bad. It can be helpful. There's symbols in it. It's just what happens is we have this experience where, oh my gosh, I was one with God. I was. To see that sentence comes in, I was one with God, and it immediately becomes a story. I was one with God. It just gets objectified when God is here. As I've said before, it's a helpful reminder for me. When I ask Jesus, what's a mystical experience? He says, you are a mystical experience until you deny that you're not. Because we're unified with God always until we invest in the dream. More fun than a hoop. So we can ask. We'll just ask. We're infinite beings, so we can just ask this question. In the light of divine being, is the story of mystical experience a delay? In the light of divine being, we just listen. Is the story of understanding metaphysics of awakening Jesus, is this a delay? It's a form of denial that it's not already here. It's that play in consciousness of trying to understand something. Stories describe the moving to cover over the unmoving that has no story. The story of what never happened. The greatest impediment to seeing what is the belief in the story of what is not, as the denial of what is. That's like a twister, but it's a good twister. The greatest impediment to seeing what's already here, is the belief in the story of what is not. So believing the story is a way to deny what is. Believing the dream and saying, oh, I didn't create that dream. Yet all the power, that's what Jesus is saying, all the power is seeing that we're creating the story. That frees us from the story. It is an addiction to a story about something which is actually nothing. Yet stories are fairy tales, and as long as it is recognized that it's a fairy tale, a play with no meaning whatsoever, the fairy tale plays and the light that you are knows nothing of it. That's the happy dream, that the story just plays, but we're not in the addiction of the experience. I just wanted the whole world to go away. The eye creates and goes, I want to get out of this world. I want to escape. I want to be out of here. Anything, God, why did you do this to me? All those kind of thoughts, which are the denial to look back and go, okay, all right, Jesus, you're so right. I did create this. This is perfect happiness. Any story believed is an investment in delay and recognition of what is here. It is the story about argument with yourself. In the light of divine being, Is the play in consciousness an argument with ourselves? When this is seen, that is an argument with ourselves because there's only one, just the power of God moves in. When that's admitted, oh, it is. It is an argument with myself, and being one with God, it's an argument with God, and being one with my brother, it's an argument with my brother to pretend that God is dead. In the light of divine being is the play in consciousness, an attempt to deny divinity in our direct experience. It's an attempt, because in the light of divine being, can divinity be denied in our direct experience? When we look as the light of divine being that we are here, the only thing we can share infinite light without limit, we can see that we know this dream is not true. The decision is only that you wish to argue with yourself and experience anger over the story as though it is with God or someone else. The story of a brother not being awake is only a doubt thought about yourselves. This is powerful mind watching, because we can learn from our brothers without judging our brothers, because Jesus says, see no error. Any thought or belief that arises that you say about the brother is exposing a belief you have about yourself. You know, John is so irresponsible. Thus, I desire an experience of feeling irresponsible, but projecting it on John. Joe Blow is clueless. Thus, I have a desired experience to be clueless. That's the beliefs we have about ourselves being exposed right there. Any belief about a brother being anything less than divine light. I mean, just look at it, not be guilty. That's what Jesus is saying. Don't be guilty. He's teaching us to really notice how we're denying ourselves. The clueless, he's clueless, meaning we're actually clueless that we created the entire universe to deny ourselves. Jesus is teaching us to be clueless in a whole new way. Nothing I see, I give everything I see all the meaning to it. So when we're washed out through forgiveness, there's no meaning to anything. That sounds horrible, because the ego really likes meaning. It wants it to mean things. It means nothing to love. Love just is. Love doesn't put any meaning on something. In the infinite, well, we'll just ask. In the infinite light of being Jesus, does love put a meaning on anything? A meaning is to try and order thought, give one thought more meaning than another and order thoughts. That's like immediate descent into hell, actually, as soon as thoughts are ordered. The story of a brother not being awake is only a doubt thought about yourself. The story that emotions you feel are caused by something that seems to be happening is desired experience in the dream. Emotions are a signal of the denial of divinity. See them in innocence. Jesus doesn't see anything. He judges nothing that appears. And certainly not to go out and say, you know, you're crying to someone and therefore you have a desired experience of crying. No, it's for us to look here and go, I'm feeling this crying. This, Jesus, is this a desired experience? And we can ask him now, Jesus, is crying a desired experience? Sometimes, okay, so sometimes he says it is helpful, you know, it kind of just releases the energetic hold as long as there's willingness underneath to see what's true. So he's not saying, oh, all crying is bad. He's just saying, just peel back the covers with me to see. Sometimes this crying, you notice some people like just it's a pattern, a continual pattern that they're really trying to hold on to. They're not willing to look and see, release the energetic investment in a person, in identity. And so the pattern just seems to continue. But the pattern of anything, crying, any emotion cannot continue once the desire for it is seen through as desired experience. It just can't. So the same's true of beliefs or any experience once. And we can ask the divine light. In the light of divine being, can an emotion arise without the desire for it? And once the desire is seen through, can that emotion arise anymore? And if it's just, that's, yeah, just see what the source is. We're just looking, what is the source of the experience that we're having? And what is, like Jesus says, what's the purpose? And to look with him, and he'll tell us in each instance. It's not to make a generalization other than, okay, this is appearing. I don't like how I feel. Show me. Is this something for me to look at? Nothing appearing in consciousness is true. That's pretty deep. Thoughts, feelings, and emotions are part of the changing, while the unchanging nature of being is untouched. Is the infinite light that's here, that we celebrate, that we share, is it untouched by everything in consciousness and our direct experience as divine beings? And if we don't think we can answer that, we can ask Jesus, are we as divine being touched by or changed by anything arising in consciousness? Is light? And hear his answer. Your function is to recognize this, that you, as divine being, remain untouched by anything that seems to move or change. That's our function. Mm-hmm. Completion. Love, your natural inheritance, is unchanging, unmoving, and unmanifest. In the light of divine being, in the truth and honesty of God, in the light that's here, is our natural inheritance unchanging? Does the light change? Does the light move? Yet the moving expresses within you without changing your identity. Is what's moving, is the world inside of, in the light of divine being, is the world inside of us or outside of us? And hear the answer. Can the world be apart from us in the light of divine being and our direct experience as divine beings? We have the power to see it. We just don't want to. I remember, like, I was so ripping mad. I could see it. It's inside of me. I can see it's inside. I don't want it. I don't want it. Well, that's what Jesus has been telling me. You don't want it. You don't want to see it. It's like, all right, I admit it now. I, wrote a whole diatribe, this big long letter, send it off to Jackie at Living Miracles, the simplest. I can see it. I don't want it. It's the whole thing. I could see that, I'm sweeping the floor. I could see that broom's inside me or whatever, we know. But then we make it a mystical experience. So yesterday I saw that the broom was me. Yeah. Yesterday. The broom's always you, like the expression of you. Not really you, but not your true nature, but it is the manifest and the unmanifest are one. Totality. What is? We're just pretending like it's not. It is the identification with the moving, what you see and feel, that makes experience feel true to you, because it is your desire for them to feel true. Jesus, is there any desire below my level of awareness to identify in any way with the moving? I'm willing to see it directly. Give it to me. I was done. Give it to her. Is there any, show me any desire to identify with what moves? Deny myself. I'm just asking. It's good to check in with him. He'll show it to us. Is there any desire to deny perfect happiness that you can show me that I can look at directly, like right now? I'm willing to see it. To deny like infinite perfect happiness. This is when the tiger comes out of the cage. The ego just and then we can just say, Jesus, is there any desire to have an experience of the tiger coming out of the cage? And then he'll show us that. All right, Jesus, I admit this is a desired experience. Like when I told this story, I'm throwing up. I'm talking to Jesus. I was like really throwing up. Okay, what's the desired experience? Which shows we can ask anytime. Because I could see when I was really looking carefully, because I was really nauseous, you start to notice, this pattern of nausea has been here before. Like, so the ego kind of makes it about, oh, you know, I went to that Mexican restaurant. We are living in Mexico, of course. And but, you know, we're going to, it's like, no, I'm not going to make it about cause and effect. I'm going to look at the desire for experience of throwing up. I'm just going to look directly at it. And just kept looking with Jesus. Okay, show me underneath, you know, and just kept going. It's so powerful. It's so powerful. Even with the biggest whoppingest headache, I'm still, nope, I'm not, nope. And then it's just like this power comes in, because all that energy was like inside that pattern is now released. All that denial of infinite, unchanging love is now, and then you don't fall for your own delusions anymore. You know, it's less and less falling for the idea that, oh, I'm going to have to suffer this, or, you know, this is just the way the world is. Like, we're not settling anymore for that. We're not settling for anything other than infinite, unchanging happiness. I always forget the word. What's the word?
Supreme.
Supreme happiness. I don't know why I can't. Supreme happiness. So I have to go to Renee every time. Renee, what's the word? We're supreme happiness. Like, not partial happiness, not 99.9% happening, supreme happiness, because Jesus says it, and that's what we want here. That's all. Supreme happiness. And if Jesus says it takes, because I asked him, you know, okay, I can see there's infinite light here. There's just infinite light. I see it. I can hear him now. He's saying it's helpful. Look with me. It's your function to look with me, because you know, you're calling yourself out of the world and unwinding from consciousness, the addiction to consciousness, the addiction to being sick, the addiction to having pain and really liking it, but pretending like you don't like it, that you don't want it. See, this is when the happy laughter comes in. So thank you very much, Christy. Very great. This is the That's why we start laughing, because when we know it, we know it. We know it, but that's okay. We're walking out of this world. Infinite, unchanging happiness, perfect peace. I give everything I see all the meaning it has for me by direct experience in the light of infinite being. I love this. Jesus talking a lot here about the power of the thoughts he's delivering in A Course in Miracles, the thoughts of God. I give everything I see all the meaning has for me. We can ask in the divine light, is that a thought of God? And hear the answer. Oh, and the abject power of each of those thoughts is given by Jesus. To see where the denial that we are the will of God. We cannot be here without the will of God, infinite being. And so if he says your daddy wants you happy, then we're going for it. That's it. That's it. So we love, thank you, mighty companions, for joining for another fun session with Jesus. Love you. Amen.